What happens when one of Hollywood's most unpredictable actors sits across from daytime television's most controversial host? And what should have been a simple interview about his latest film turns into the most explosive confrontation ever seen on live television? You're about to witness Nicolas Cage like you've never seen him before, and you won't believe what comes out of his mouth. Asterisk, the View studio buzzed with anticipation as Nicolas Cage settled into the guest chair, his signature intensity already radiating even during light conversation with the other hosts. He had come to promote his new thriller, but Joy Behar had very different intentions. Asterisk, so, Nicolas? Joy began with her familiar smirk. I have to ask about your financial troubles from a few years back. Buying all those castles and dinosaur skulls, that was pretty irresponsible, wasn't it? Asterisk, the temperature in the studio dropped. Cage's jaw tightened, though his voice remained calm. Asterisk, well, Joy, that's a reductive way to look at anyone's life choices. I made investments. Some worked out, some didn't. That's called being human. Asterisk, investments. Joy laughed, turning to the audience. Is that what we're calling buying a pyramid tomb now? Come on, Nicolas. You have to admit some of those purchases were just crazy. Asterisk, Whoopi shifted in her seat, clearly sensing the tension. Joy, maybe we should focus on the movie, she suggested gently. But Joy wasn't finished. Asterisk, no. No, people want to know about this stuff. I mean, Nicolas, you've made some questionable movies too. Like that one where you're fighting animatronics in a pizza place? What was that about? Asterisk, Cage leaned forward, the fire now unmistakable in his eyes. Asterisk, you know, Joy, I find it interesting that someone who's made a career sitting at a table offering opinions would critique someone who actually creates art. Asterisk, the room froze. The audience went silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause. Asterisk, art? Joy scoffed. Is that what you call screaming about bees or dressing up like a bunny rabbit? At some point, you have to admit you've made some real stinkers. Asterisk, I own up to every choice I've made, Cage replied, his voice rising. Every role, every moment of my career has been deliberate. I don't hide behind a desk making cheap shots at people who are actually out there taking risks. Asterisk, Sarah Haynes tried to jump in. Nicolas, tell us about the new film, asterisk. Oh, let me guess. Joy cut in. Another Nicolas Cage movie where Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage. Do you ever actually act, or do you just show up and be weird? Asterisk, something in Cage shifted a coiled spring, releasing. His voice dropped to a low, ominous calm. Asterisk. You want to know about acting, Joy? Acting is about truth. About finding raw emotion and sharing it with the world, even when it makes you vulnerable. It's commitment, something most people never understand. Asterisk, Joy rolled her eyes. Please, spare me the lecture. You're not Marlon Brando, Nicolas. You're the guy who screams about stealing the Declaration of Independence. Asterisk. And you're the person who thinks mocking other people's lives counts as entertainment. Cage shot back. When I commit to something, I commit fully. I don't phone it in. I don't sit in judgment of others while contributing nothing meaningful to the world. The other hosts tried desperately to calm things, but the confrontation only escalated, contributing nothing. Joy snapped. I've been in this business longer than you've been alive. I've interviewed presidents, covered wars, done real journalism while you were still figuring out which relative got you into Hollywood. Cage's eyes flashed. There it is. When you can't win with facts, you go for personal attacks. For your information, I earned my place with training, dedication, and taking risks that safe little talk show hosts would never dare take. Asterisk, safe. Joy shrieked. You think what I do is safe? I get criticized every day. Every word I say is analyzed. Asterisk, the difference, Cage said. Leaning forward is that I'm criticized for creating something. You're criticized for tearing people down. There's a world of difference between being judged for art and being judged for cruelty. Joy slammed her hand on the table. Cruel. I'm being honest. Someone has to tell the truth about these ridiculous movies you make. Ghostwriter. A flaming skeleton on a motorcycle. What adult thought that was a good idea? Cage suddenly went quiet. Dangerously quiet. You know what, Joy? I'm starting to understand why people change the channel when you start talking. Asterix. Audience gasped. Joy's face went through a rapid cycle, shock, anger, hurt, before settling back into fury. Asterisk, excuse me, she demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. Asterisk. Joy's expression cracked slightly. Did you just insult my ratings? My show has been on the air for decades. I have millions of loyal viewers who tune in specifically to hear what I have to say. Asterix. Cage tilted his head, studying her with the same unsettling intensity he reserved for his most dramatic roles. And yet here you are, he said slowly, using your platform to attack a guest instead of having a meaningful conversation. Tell me, Joy, when was the last time you created something that brought joy to people instead of just stirring up controversy? Asterisk. I create conversation, Joy shot back, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. I create dialogue about important issues. Asterisk. Important issues. Cage raised his eyebrows in genuine incredulity. Like mocking someone's career choices? Like ridiculing artistic expression? If that's your idea of important dialogue, then maybe the problem isn't my movies. Maybe the problem is your understanding of what actually matters. Asterisk. Sonny tried to intervene, attempting to mediate, but Joy cut her off sharply. No, I'm not backing down from this. She jabbed a finger in Cage's direction. You've come on my show, acting high and mighty about your art. But the truth is you've been making garbage for years and everyone knows it. At least I have the guts to say what people are thinking. Asterisk. Cage rose from his chair in a slow, deliberate movement, his imposing frame casting a shadow across the table. The cameras captured every micro-expression as his face shifted into something hard and formidable. Garbage, he repeated, his voice edged with danger. Let me tell you something about garbage, Joy. Garbage is tearing people down for entertainment. Garbage is using your position of influence to spread negativity instead of celebrating human creativity. Garbage is mistaking cynicism for wisdom. Asterisk. Oh. Don't you dare lecture me about wisdom, Joy snapped, also rising. You're an actor, Nicolas. You pretend to be other people for money. I deal with real issues, real politics, real problems that affect real people's lives. Asterisk. Real problems. Cage's laugh was sharp and humorless. Your real problem seems to be that you can't stand when someone doesn't fit into your narrow little box of what's acceptable. You see something different, something unique, and your first instinct is to mock it, to tear it down, to make yourself feel superior by making others feel small. Asterisk. The tension was so thick, the studio felt airless. Whoopi was desperately signaling to the producers, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every explosive second. Joy's voice rose to match his intensity. You know what? Maybe I should mock it. Maybe someone needs to call out the Emperor's New Clothes situation here. Your acting style is just yelling and making weird faces. And somehow you've convinced people that's deep and artistic. Asterisk. My acting style, Cage murmured, his voice dropping to a terrifying whisper, comes from years of studying under Sanford Meisner. From understanding the method, from dedicating my entire life to the craft. What exactly is your expertise based on, Joy? What qualifies you to judge anyone's artistic expression? Asterisk. Life experience, Joy fired back. Common sense. The ability to call something ridiculous when it's ridiculous. Cage shook his head slowly, a look of genuine pity crossing his features. You know what's truly ridiculous? Sitting in judgment of people who are brave enough to put themselves out there, to be vulnerable, to risk failure in pursuit of something meaningful. You've built your entire career on being the person who points and laughs while others, actually, do the work. The work. Joy repeated, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. What work? Screaming about stealing the Constitution isn't work. It's a paycheck for overacting. And what you do isn't even that, Cage replied coldly. At least when I overact, I'm trying to give the audience an experience. I'm trying to make them feel something. What you do is just meanness disguised as commentary. Anna. Navarro tried again to shift the conversation. Nicolas, your fans really love your commitment to your roles. His fans. Joy interrupted, are probably teenagers who think loud equals funny. Mature audiences want subtlety, sophistication. Not whatever this is. Cage's eyes lit with a dangerous fire. Mature audiences, is that what you call your demographic? People who tune in to watch you bully guests and spread gossip? That's your idea of mature entertainment. I don't bully anyone, Joy protested, but her voice wavered. Ask tough questions. I hold people accountable. Accountable for what? Cage demanded. For daring to make choices you don't approve of. For having the audacity to be different. For refusing to play it safe like you've done your entire career. That struck her. Joy's face flushed with anger and something else. Something uncomfortably close to shame. Play it safe, she sputtered. Do you think what I do is safe? Do you think it's easy to sit here every day and deal with criticism from people like you who think they're better than everyone else? I don't think I'm better than everyone else, Cage replied with deadly calm. But I am starting to think I'm better than someone who uses their platform to spread negativity and call it journalism. Joy's face twisted through. A dozen emotions before landing on pure fury. How dare you, she hissed. How dare you come into my house and act like you're some kind of artistic genius when everyone knows. You're just a has-been riding on your uncle's coattails. The mention of Francis Ford Coppola was the final straw. Cage's entire demeanor shifted into something primal and terrifying. His voice, when it came, was barely controlled thunder. My uncle's coattails, he repeated. You want to? Go there, Joy. You really want to make this about family connections? Let's talk about how you got your big break, shall we? Let's discuss the real story of how Joy Behar became Joy Behar. Joy's confidence wavered for the first time. That's completely different, and you know it. Is it? Cage stepped closer, his presence swallowing the space between them. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks, like someone who's never created anything meaningful, attacking someone who has dedicated his entire life to his craft. And now, you want to make it personal. The other hosts had given up any pretense of controlling the situation. Whoopi stared. In fascination. Sarah had her hand over her mouth, and the audience was dead silent, witnessing television history unfold. Personal. Joy's voice cracked with hysteria. You made it personal when you insulted my intelligence, my career, my viewers. You think you can come on here and act like some tortured artist when everyone knows you're just a joke. Cage's laugh was sharp and bitter. A joke? You know what's a joke, Joy? The fact that you think tearing down other people makes you important. The fact that you believe cynicism is the same thing as wisdom. The fact that you've spent so many years being negative that you've forgotten what it's like to actually contribute something positive to the world. Positive. Joy shrieked. What's positive about making terrible movies that waste people's time and money? What's positive about convincing yourself that screaming and overacting is some kind of art form? Cage slammed his hand on the table with such force that the water glasses jumped. What's positive is that I try. Joy. What's positive is that I put myself out there. I take risks. I attempt to give people experiences they've never had before. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I succeed, but at least I'm not hiding behind a desk making cheap shots at people who are actually in the arena. The reference to Theodore Roosevelt's famous speech clearly went over Joy's head. But the power behind Cage's words was unmistakable. His voice rose to a crescendo that filled every corner of the studio. You want to know what my movies are really about? They're about passion, about commitment, about refusing to play it safe in a world full of people like you who think the highest form of entertainment is watching someone else fail. Every single role I've ever taken, from the smallest independent film to the biggest blockbuster, has been approached with the same level of dedication and respect for the craft. Joy was backing away slightly now, clearly intimidated by the sheer force of his presence. That's all well and good, but it doesn't change the fact that some of your movies are objectively terrible. Objectively terrible. Cage's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. According to who? According to you. According to critics who wouldn't know genuine artistic risk if it bit them on the rear end. According to people who think safe, predictable mediocrity is somehow superior to ambitious failure. According to audiences, Joy stammered, clearly struggling to maintain her footing. According to box office numbers, according to common sense. Cage shook his head slowly, a look of genuine pity replacing the anger in his eyes. You really don't get it, do you, Joy? Do you think art is supposed to be safe? Do you think creativity is supposed to fit into neat little boxes that make everyone comfortable? You've spent so long living in that world that you can't even recognize authenticity when it's standing right in front of you. Authenticity. Joy's voice grew higher and more desperate. Is that what you call it when you buy dinosaur skulls and pyramid tombs? Is that authentic? Or is that just rich guy weirdness? The personal attack seemed to energize Cage, rather than hurt him. His response came with the full force of his considerable talent behind it. You know what, Joy? Yes, I bought unusual things. Yes, I made choices that other people wouldn't make. But at least I lived my life instead of sitting in judgment of people who actually have the courage to be different. At least I didn't spend my career hiding behind safe opinions and manufactured controversy. Joy was visibly shaking now, whether from anger or something else entirely. I'm not hiding behind anything. I say what needs to be said. Someone has to call out the nonsense. The nonsense. Cage's voice rose to a roar that could probably be heard in the parking lot. The real nonsense is thinking that destruction is the same as criticism. The real nonsense is believing that tearing people down makes you important. The real nonsense is wasting a platform that could be used to celebrate human creativity and instead using it to spread misery and negativity. The studio was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Even the camera operators seemed frozen, afraid to move and break the spell of what they were witnessing. Joy made one last desperate attempt to regain control. I'm not spreading misery. I'm being honest about quality. I'm refusing to pretend that everything is wonderful when it's not. Cage stared at her for a long moment, and when he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that seemed to press down on everyone in the room. Joy, the saddest part about this entire conversation is that you actually believe that. You've convinced yourself that negativity is honesty, that cruelty is truthing, that your inability to appreciate something different is somehow a virtue. But here's what you don't understand. You don't get to decide what art means. To other people, You don't get to determine what brings joy or meaning to someone's life. All you get to do is choose whether you're going to add something positive to the world or whether you're going to spend your time tearing down the people who are actually trying to create something beautiful. Asterisk, he straightened to his full height, every inch the imposing figure who had captivated audiences for decades. I feel sorry for you, Joy. I genuinely do. Because somewhere along the way, you forgot that the point of art, the point of entertainment, the point of human expression is to connect with each other, to share experiences, to find common ground in our shared humanity. Instead, you've chosen to use your platform to divide, to mock, to diminish. And the truly tragic part is that you think that makes you important. Asterisk's Joy opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. For perhaps the first time in her television career, Joy Behar was completely speechless. Cage gathered himself, smoothing down his jacket with the dignity of someone who had just delivered a masterclass in both acting and rhetoric. Asterisk,